Hello, all you beautiful souls. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Operation Tango Romeo, the Trauma Recovery Podcast for veterans, first responders, and their families. I get reached out to all the time by people that are in a dark place and are suffering and are looking for the best and quickest way to snap out of it. So, where I want to start is that there really aren't any silver bullets, but there are aggressive interventions that I'm hoping will help you. So, what I want to start with, in not order of effectiveness, but in an order of accessibility, is what you can take control of. If you're in a dark spot and you're really suffering, here's what you can do that's quick, and and some of these are free, won't cost you a dime, which is pretty interesting. And this is a accumulation of over 300 episodes talking to dozens of experts around the world, and plus my own personal experience. I'm walking the walk. I'm living the life and traveling the journey with you as well. So when I need an intervention, which does happen, here's what I do, and here's what I know works for myself and for several other people. Hopefully, it'll work for you. So the quickest, easiest way to, if you are in a funk, if you are suffering, is fasting. Now, fasting, like everything else, requires commitment. It requires action on your part. And unfortunately, most people, they disempower themselves by expecting a magic pill to fix whatever is ailing them. I've tried the pills prescribed by doctors and psychiatrists and didn't have a lot of luck with them personally. They're really quite hit and miss. And there's a lot of science saying that they should these should be avoided. Now, keep in mind, I'm just somebody walking the walk with you, walking this path with you. I am not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a pharmacologist. I'm just a guy who is living the lived experience, just like many people are that tune into the show. But fasting, the way that it works, my understanding of it, first of all, it does work very, very quickly, probably within the first 36 hours. But how it works is that it puts your body into ketosis. And when it puts you into ketosis, there's something about that magical state of being where your body isn't burning any carbs because there's no carbs to burn. And you just get this lift. The fog lifts very quickly and you feel great. And it's probably not even 36 hours. You start feeling pretty good before the 24-hour mark with fasting. So there's all kinds of information on the different types of fasts to have, the do's and the don'ts of fasting. I don't want to be too prescriptive on that because I have never had an expert on fasting on the show. And I'm not an expert myself. I'm just somebody that's done it. I think the longest fast I've had is 3 or 4 days. I've done it a few times, but 24-hour fasts are quite common for me. 24 or 36-hour fasts I do on the regular. And I tell you, it's just the quickest way to snap out of a funk. I have more energy, more clarity. My brain, the fog lifts. I feel so good. And I find that the first 24 hours are the most difficult. So, what I love about fasting is it's free. It's free, it's accessible. Anybody that wants to do it can do it. Fasting, that's number one. Number two, this is not one where I'm walking the walk. This is where I get anecdotal stories from other people. I haven't been doing it myself, but I have a lot of faith in all the anecdotal stories here. And it's more than anecdotal. There is science behind what I'm about to say. It's the cold plunge. You've been seeing this a lot lately. People buying the cold plunge, ice baths, or doing the polar bear swims. But you can also, if you have a shower, you can just use your shower and have turn it on cold. And if you can do it for 30 seconds, that's every morning or twice a day, that's pretty good. But the results are really, really quick. And if you want to learn more about cold plunge, the world expert is Wim Hof. No, I didn't just stutter. That's somebody's actual name. Wim, W-I-M, Hof, H-O-F, might be double F. But he's an unbelievable human being, and he's got all the science with him. He has been studied by all kinds of universities, and there is more to cold plunge than I can even start to get into on this show. No, I haven't done it. I'm too much of a wuss, but it's on the list. It's on the list of things to do. So, number one is fasting. Number two is cold plunge. And again, it's free. So, it's accessible to everybody and is an instant mood lifter. So, number three requires work as well, work and commitment. I was going to save number three for when I'm talking about anxiety, but anxiety and depression, there's a link there. And it's simply decluttering and cleaning. If you live in a place that has a lot of clutter, if there's laundry on the floor, if there's a million and one things on your countertop, if your desk or your kitchen table, if you can't see the table or the desk because of all the stuff that's on it, um, what is going on in your mind is that whether you're aware of it or not, your brain is actually keeping track of everything. So, when somebody moves your keys and you're like, where in the heck are my keys? Who moved them? It's the same. It's because your brain is keeping track of everything, every piece of paper, every, so it's like your phone having 1,000 apps open all at the same time. It slows down the phone. It clogs it up. The phone doesn't work so hot. So you got to close up a whole lot of those apps, or on a computer. Sometimes you got to defragment, right? Because the memory is all scattered all over the place. So you condense it all. Well, that's what decluttering does. It's like defragging your computer or closing a whole bunch of apps. And what you'll find is that if you declutter, the stress and anxiety goes down. Stress and anxiety and depression are linked. So, and again, free. And there are extra benefits to decluttering, and it it includes self-confidence. I'm giggling because of what I'm about to say. Jordan Peterson gets mocked all the time about how saying make your bed in the morning, but there's wisdom in that and science in that, behind that. When you make your bed, it's the first act of taking control of tidying it up, because your outside environment is a reflection of your inside environment. So a messy bed is reflective of a messy mind. So just do your bed. But the self-esteem that comes with it is like, why would I have self-esteem from that? Well, I don't know why, but you do. When you take control of your environment, you have things clean and tidy. It really helps with the self-esteem, and it definitely helps with anxiety because you're closing all these apps. You're not keeping track of all these different things. So, number one, fasting. Number two, cold plunge. Number three, declutter and cleaning. The cleaner your home, the cleaner your environment, your personal hygiene, the better you feel about yourself. It's good for the mental health. Number four, meditation and mindfulness. I've had numerous people tell me that this has literally saved their lives. And again, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Get onto YouTube, look up transcendental meditation or any other type of meditation that you want for relaxation, and just do the work. There's podcasts on it. Go on Spotify and put relaxation meditation or meditation for depression. Whatever it is that you want to deal with, there's meditation for it. And if you don't like the first one, do the next one. Hello, Andrew. Thanks for tuning in. Meditation and mindfulness. So this is accessible to everybody, and it doesn't cost you a dime. It's beautiful. It's a daily practice, but like everything else that I've mentioned, you've got to keep your feet moving. You have to do the work. Nobody can meditate for you. Nobody can declutter. Well, people can declutter for you, but it's not as good. But nobody can do the cold plunge for you. Nobody can make you go fasting, do the fasting. You have to do the work yourself. And when you do the work yourself and you receive the results for it, again, confidence, self-esteem, and the more you build confidence and self-esteem, the less depression you tend to have. They are hand in glove. Keto. it hasn't been as popular over the last couple of years as it was like 3, 4 years ago. Everybody talking about the keto diet. Well, the reason keto works is for the same reason that fasting works. Keto puts you into ketosis. When you're in ketosis, what that does for your mind is fantastic, but it's an instant lift. Just like everything I said with fasting, that happens with when you're in ketosis. So ketosis is what happens when you're not burning any carbs, just like the fasting, and your brain loves it, loves it. And it's easy. It's a little expensive though, because you're into the heavy fatty foods. When I did keto, I lasted, I think, 4 weeks, and then I just found it too heavy of a diet to be sustainable. But there's people that do the keto diet all the time. And I dropped a ton of weight, like over 20 pounds in 4 weeks. It was like it just fell off. It was unbelievable. But the main reason for me is that when you're in ketosis, what that does for your mental clarity is absolutely fantastic. So easy to find keto cookbooks. They're on Amazon. There's many to choose from. Local bookstores. Get a keto cookbook, stick to it, and you'll see the mental effects of that within the first 2-3 days. 4 days on the outside. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's faster than psych meds by a lot. So ketosis. Get on the keto diet. Now, the next one I'm about to say is a bit difficult for me because of legal reasons, because it is difficult to access. So the first 5 things I just shared with you are free. They don't cost you anything, and everybody is accessible, has access to it. The next, not so accessible. I mean, there's always ways, but I can't prescribe what those ways are. I'm talking about psilocybin mushrooms. So all the experts that I've had on the show, and plus my own personal experiences with psilocybin mushrooms, here's what I found. That even in microdosing, the microdosing is very, very helpful. I get a lift out of it. And there wasn't science for the longest time, but about 3 years ago, the science started coming out that microdosing with psilocybin mushrooms is very, very beneficial for depression, anxiety. How are you going to get your hands on it? Well, there are kits out there where you can grow it yourself. There are people with licenses that they can't sell it, but they can give it to you. You're going to have to figure that one out. I certainly can't tell you on the air how to get a hold of it, but there are many ways, and it's not difficult. And there's this thing called the internet that I think you could find pretty quickly some ways to acquire psilocybin mushrooms. My personal favorite for therapeutic reasons is our golden teachers. They're not the only ones out there. They all work, but that's my favorite. And if you're going to do a macro dose, a big dose of more than 1.5 grams, I would suggest having a sitter, having somebody to watch over you. When I do it, I just go straight to bed and don't sleep. I just close my eyes and enjoy the ride. But the lift that it gives me, it's long lasting. It's long lasting, especially the first day or two after. Oh my gosh, what a feeling. But I need to do a tune up a couple times a year to keep myself level. All right, so that's psilocybin. And I put it on number 6 on the list because it is not as accessible and it's not free. The next one that's not as accessible, but it's legal, is ketamine treatments. So there are ketamine clinics popping up all over North America, probably around the world, I'm guessing. But in Alberta, there's a couple of them in Calgary. They are in Edmonton. I don't know about anywhere else. But ketamine assisted therapy. So different ketamine clinics do it in a different way. But from what I've seen, it's ketamine paired with therapy, with psychotherapy, and peer support. So if it's a holistic approach like that, ketamine is very aggressive treatment, and you see a lot of results in a short amount of time. So if you have access and finances, or Veterans Affairs Canada will pay for ketamine treatments. The VA in the States, I don't know. So you'll have to call your local VA rep to ask them about ketamine and treatments. But in Canada, if you can get a prescription, which isn't hard to do, um, yes, Veterans Affairs Canada will cover you for ketamine assisted therapy. So the next that is very quick and aggressive, also difficult to find to get your hands on. I don't even know where to get it in Canada, but I had Dr. Eugene Lipoff on the show recently. It's a few episodes ago. Please listen to the episode with Dr. Eugene Lipoff, and please excuse all the background noise he had. There's construction going on outside for him. But dual sympathetic stellate ganglion block. I know that's a mouthful, right? But the ganglion nerve, there's one on each side of your neck. And basically, when you put an anesthetic in there, I'm going to be talking right out of my hat here if I keep going trying to explain it. Listen to the episode. Dr. Eugene Lipoff can explain it far better than I ever could. And the reason I'm bringing it up is that it's quick. It works. They're single sympathetic where they only zap the one side, but when you do both sides, in addition with psychotherapy, the results have been really, really good. So I'm also going to add in some honorable mentions. So those are the top 8 ways to quickly, aggressively combat depression. Now, some honorable mentions for therapies: EMDR, because it just seems to be working faster and more aggressive than other therapies. Reconciliation therapy. There's, what the heck's her name out of Quebec? Reconsolidation therapy. It's a lot of episodes ago. But the reason I'm giving this list is because when you are in a dark place, you want results quickly. When you are in a critical stage, you need results quickly. So I just shared with you the top 8 aggressive ways to really deal with depression and anxiety, mostly depression. I'm going to probably do a different episode on anxiety where there's going to be a little bit overlap with this one, but they are related. They're kind of hand in hand, the two different things. I hope this is helpful. I hope this is helpful for you. I sure would love to see your comments on this. And if you know of anybody who is suffering from depression and you don't know how to help, share this episode. Share this episode. Another honorable mention, now that I'm thinking about it, is community. Now, this is free and it can be difficult. It can be difficult because where do you go? Well, properly run peer support groups are fantastic. That provides you with community. And the reason that works is that PTSD is an injury of disconnection. Therefore, the antidote is connection to yourself, connection to community. But when you are suffering from PTSD, often depression is one of the symptoms. And with depression, isolation often happens. So if you are finding yourself in isolation, that is fueling the depression. How do you break the isolation? Peer support groups are probably the best possible place to do that. With the peer support groups, you are in a place where you're not judged, where you typically don't have people giving you the world's worst advice or any advice at all that is unsolicited. In peer support groups, you are with people that are walking the walk with you. Something else that people tell me all the time is simply listening to this show is super duper helpful. The reason it's helpful is because it works as peer support. So if you don't have access to a peer support group through OSI Can or through the group that John Sr. runs, this show works as peer support, especially if you listen to the first 10 episodes and kind of go from there. Because you're going to hear stories from other people that are going through what you're going through, that have experienced things that are similar to what you experienced. And when you hear story after story of people who are not only dealing with it, but they're dealing with it well, and they're dealing and they're healing and they're moving forward, it gives you hope. And as important as hope is the realization that you're not alone. It's not just you. Other people are going through similar things. I won't say the same thing because nobody's going through the same thing. Nobody is. We're not in the same boat. We are separate boats in the same storm. Every boat's going to react differently. Some people have a bigger boat, some have a little dinky raft. And we all have different levels of skill when it comes to sailing these boats in the storm. So peer support helps you get better skills and a bigger boat so that you can weather the storm better. And that's what the show does as well. I provide you with the resources and I help provide you with a bigger boat in the form of tools to deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with related to PTSI, depression, anxiety, whatever it is that you are struggling with. Well, folks, that's about it. 21 minutes, and I think we are about there. So thank you for tuning in. As always, please share like the sugar bear, because sharing is caring.